do you remember when the government, said, I think in 1989, right, that the
Yeah.
Kampong Glam would become the Malay conservation area, whereas, other areas had been declared to be, other ethnic areas like Chinatown for the Chinese and Little India and so on. Do you remember that announcement and what happened afterwards?
Okay. So, I mean, actually, I took things for granted, right? I thought I was, I
Yeah.
will, the government, there's no
Mm,
way the government is going to take our house because it's private property.
mm.
How naive of me, right?
Well, we were young at the time. We were what, like still teenagers, right?
Yeah, teenagers. So how naive. Oh,
Yeah.
historic. So to me, it's like, okay, it's conservation. Like, it's good that they want to conserve. Maybe they want to. But to me, it will not impact my family. And, when we are teenagers, right, we are like very, not say naive, like, okay, it doesn't bother me. I mean, what does that have to do with me anyway?
Mm,
I
mm,
mean, I
mm.
don't think, oh, what is the future or the family going to be like? We were more interested in other things, right? Like our
Yeah.
studies
Mm,
or
mm, mm.
other teenager things to bother about, okay, so the government want to turn this into historic area, so what? So I didn't really pay attention.
Mm,
And the family also didn't think so much about it because
mm.
to them, we own the house and the land is freehold. That was the I think that was the
Ah,
mentality that okay, they can develop, this area, but our house was very, I mean, we maintained the house quite well.
mhm.
It's like, so okay, not just it didn't really bother us
I
until
mean,
later on.
so in Kampong Glam, was there like a community organization that would say, like, okay, the government may be acquiring the even the private property. Let's talk about it.
No,
No, there wasn't.
no, no,
Okay,
no,
okay. Mm.
nothing.
Okay. So, what did your parents feel then when they saw the letter acquisition?
1999.
Mm,
Yeah, so apparently the government wrote to, because the house belonged to the estate of Haji Yusoff, which is my great grandfather, right?
mm,
So we have like two of my uncles were the trustee of the estate. So the letter got to them. So all of us, we didn't know. Of course, we didn't know. So can you imagine the letter came in April 1999? You're supposed to leave by August 1999
mm.
or
4 months.
September.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm,
How do you unpack like 4 months of big house, 10 rooms,
mm,
which is I thought was very cruel then. But during that time we were students, right? I mean, and even when I wanted to find out, my family say, hey, don't bother, let the adults go and handle it. You don't masuk campur. Like,
mm.
don't interfere. I wish I would have interfered. So, but I know what the family did was we asked the lawyer, the family lawyer, to actually and not say argue with land office and say what is this, are you gonna compensate us with like what, blah blah blah. And so I don't really know exactly what happened. All I know is that we have to pack our things and leave,
Mm,
and within 4 months. And during that time the lawyer did try to get a higher compensation,
mm, mm,
but they say, oh, and I still remember my mom actually met with the land office officer and asked, what are you going to do with our house? This is our resident, there's 4 generations who lived here.
mhm.
And I'm being the fourth generation who was born in the house, who was still studying, during that time. What are you all like? What are you doing? And then you cannot just take people's house. They say, oh, don't worry, auntie. We will preserve this house.
Yeah.
So my mom asked, what are you going to do with it? Oh, we will turn it into a gallery cafe. This is the exact words, okay?
Mhm.
Gallery cafe. So my mom said, oh, hey, you don't use these difficult words. What is the meaning of gallery cafe? So they say, oh, it's just a gallery, like a museum.
Yeah.
Mark the words, okay? Gallery like museum with a little cafe. And then what did they do with it? Full-blown restaurant, right?
Mm.
And the reason why they say they cannot compensate us higher than the
Yeah.
$3.6 billion,
Uh-huh.
which is pittance, was because they say there will not be any commercial activities. Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah, sure.
uh, uh,
No commercial activities, all right. Yeah, so you cannot argue because you use the Land Acquisition Act.
yeah, correct. I
I
mean,
find it very unfair.
when they acquire these properties, usually, although in the name of public development, right? Usually, private developers would come in and then the whole property is then used for commercial purposes. That's often the case, isn't it?
Yeah, but I guess I was idealistic, right? I was like, what is this? I mean, again, when they yeah, so I wasn't involved in the
Mm,
whatever that was happening. And it was my mother, through my mother, who like updated me on everything. But it was very sad because you were only given like a few months to unpack and move. Not these are the physical aspect. How about the emotional aspect?
yeah.
How
Mm,
about the all the other aspect? There are people who lived in the house their entire life, and you want to just move them out because you want to what?
mm,
Take this house to develop it. I'm not against, if you notice, right, if you read the papers during that period, there's a lot of protests by the royal family members in the Istana Kampong Glam. You never hear anything about us. We were
mm-hmm,
so the but to me, look, the Istana Kampong Glam compound sits on state land. It's actually state land. So you cannot argue if the government want to take it, you had to move. Even that also they compensated, overly excessive in my opinion. But for us, this is a private property, still they give us pittance compensation, no time to look for other places.
mm.
I mean, how within 4 months you think you can get and then how about all our artifacts? These are major big artifacts.
Tell us
You know,
what were the artifacts that you have?
we have big mirrors
Mm-hmm,
that I think, that you can see now. I got it back to put in the museum. So a lot of our artifacts, like even an old vintage car, which of course later they can't restore it, but we have all these things. How are we supposed to pack?
yeah.
So we were so-called obligated to loan to them as part
Mm,
of like exhibits for the so-called Malay Heritage Center Museum. I mean, we have no choice, right? Where are you gonna put all these things? So and I remember the last few, I was actually very angry and upset, and I didn't go back home. I didn't even want to know anything because I kind of detached myself.
mm,
Like, hey, and then my mother kept say, why don't this was your home? Don't you want to stay in it for the last few? I said, no, 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 I can't because I know my heart will break. So
mm,
I really removed myself from this whole chaosness. So I said, okay, since like let the old people settle it, I'm not even gonna bother. Because to me, and I wrote in Gedung Kuning, like
yeah.
my heart would just have broken to pieces. And I would not have been able to move on, so called. But even that, after the government took the house, there's this sense of loss. It's not because the house is big and grand. No, it's just like if you lose something that is very dear to you,
Mm,
and that's why you feel very dispossessed, very you just lose, like I feel like a part of my identity got lost
yeah.
because that was like, I mean, I was born in the house, for goodness sake, and it's about this family, who's central to Kampong Glam, and yet we had just had to pack up and leave. So that was the reason why I felt that, I should write about the Gedung Kuning book so people know what exactly happened.
Mm,
Because after that, they started to change the narrative. They wanted to rebrand it as Rumah Bendahara, which is Prime Minister's house.
mm,
I actually wrote in the paper, I said, when was it Prime Minister's house? Yes, you built it to house the Prime Minister, but there wasn't any Prime Minister who lived in the house. You know, and then of course, then later they got another academic to go and rebut my claim, because I'm not an academic, right? To rebut my claim and say that, oh, there was this somebody who for a while he was the acting prime minister. Acting prime
Uh-huh.
minister is not prime minister. And he didn't stay there substantially, it's just the whatever role that you took in the 1960s. So they wanted to change. They didn't even want to keep the name Gedung Kuning.
What was
So
this letter that you wrote?
uh, I
Is
think it was an
a
article in the papers. I wrote to them.
okay, you wrote a letter.
I wrote to the people in the Malay Heritage
And who rebutted you?
Foundation who rebutted me. I think I could still find the paper, one academic
One academic.
in NTU. But the
Uh-huh.
person
Okay.
has retired, so you
Okay.
can, if you're interested. So it came out in the Malay paper saying that, oh, it's just a dig at me. To me, it's just like to get back, because I say the Prime Minister never stayed there.
Mm.
And then when I read the article, and of course it's in Malay, right? Because they think my Malay is not good enough. So I read it properly. I mean, my Malay is quite good lah. So they
Yeah, yeah.
underestimated me. So I look at it and I said, wait a minute. Acting minister is not acting prime minister during that time. What? I can't remember. If I'll look for the article. I can send it to you.
Yes,
To
yes.
just justify that, oh, that's why they want to change the name. But can you imagine? Can you imagine the audacity to want to change the name of like Gedung Kuning?
Mm.
When Haji Yusoff bought it, it was really known as Gedung Kuning. So to me, even name changing is like you are changing something, like it has an impact. It erodes all the stories behind this house.
Mm.
And then people think, oh, the prime minister did stay there. Then how about our family who went through World War I also in the house? Oh, World War II.
Yeah.
And all this, you forgot about the people who stayed in this house the longest, who basically saved the house from falling into like moneylender's
Disrepair.
hand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt very angry, and that was how the animosity in those people our age, right? And who has been following my saga from then. I always fight. I always fight with
Yeah.
the people
Yeah.
from the Malay Heritage Foundation until they even cut down my mango tree, right? It became such an issue as well. Yeah, so to me, it's not about it belong to the family. No.
Mm.
If you even want to change a little bit of history, and you think it is it is okay, then I mean you're quite evil, don't you think so? It's like
Mm.
changing the word, changing our national anthem, example, or even change it like the country's name. It's like, why are you rewriting history? Because if you call it Rumah Bendahara, you're given the impression that there was a prime minister who stayed here for the longest time. That it didn't, that all these things, all these important things that the family did,
Mm.
that means we don't exist.
Yeah.
Our stories don't exist. So I felt very, in fact, it was Gedung Kuning, the acquisition of Gedung Kuning, who made me realize how important history is,
Mm.
and how important it is to know who you are.
Don't you think that's kind of due to marketing and what they envision Kampong Glam to be, right? That I mean, the title of Prime Minister's house has that grand sounding name, right, to attract people to come and visit. Isn't that what they want to do now with Kampong
They
Glam?
have the Istana Kampong Glam, right?
Mm.
Why did they change it to Taman Warisan Melayu? Use the name Istana Kampong Glam.
Mm.
The Kampong Glam Palace is big enough than to use this small adjacent house. I mean, the house adjacent to this, by
Mm.
proxy, is not so important as the main Istana Kampong Glam. Then use your Istana Kampong Glam. Why you want to change to Gedung Kuning?
Mm.
I mean, change the name Gedung Kuning. Gedung Kuning is Gedung Kuning from last time, and you want to change it. Why? To get people in. this is not the main attraction. The main attraction is Istana Kampong Glam. So to me, changing name is akin to changing the course of history. Because let's say I'm normal tourist, I go there and say, oh, the Prime Minister's house. Oh, Prime Minister used to stay here. There's actually no evidence of Prime Minister staying there.
Mm,
So you are actually changing history, right? The narratives. How about this family who, who the owner of Gedung Kuning for a while, and it was still the owner when the government acquired it. He was the one who actually monopolized the tali pinggang industry in the whole of Southeast Asia. He was the pioneer trustee of the Sultan Mosque. He contributed money to rebuild Sultan Mosque. But nobody highlighted all this. Nobody,
mm,
which I find like, which is very sad. So unless people, stand up and tell their version of the truth, then only,
mm.
the only way is
The
to
name would
write
have been changed.
writing,
Yeah.
or to just to do advocacy. But
Mm,
that's why people ask me, right, what is um one thing that I did not regret doing ever, right? Something that I am so happy that I did was to write the Gedung Kuning book.
mm,
Because then it kind of changed the course of, like, had I been contented with just finding my own thing, doing my own things, living my own life, and don't bother about, so our house was taken away, that's it. It's just, okay lah, so sad.
mm,
Then all this thing, even I don't think the Kampong Glam book will came to be also. So I'm glad that I wrote the Gedung Kuning book to give the other story that nobody will kind of like will tell.
mm. Most Singaporeans have not, fought for these things, like I would say, right? When it happened to them.
I never thought that I would, like I
Mm,
said, I never thought that I would write also. It was never in my dream to write a book. Never, okay. But then I realized how important it is. Like, that we actually, like, we will die, right? But at least our books and our works will stay on for the next generation to read and refer,
mm, mm.
and or even your podcast to listen to hear this different narrative. So that is, I think, is very important.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad you come onto the show and talk about your fight. What was the outcome?
No outcome, we had to leave.
No, no, the name change that they wanted to do.
Oh, the outcome, yeah, they kept it.
Great.
I argued, despite your academic
Mhm.
saying that whatever, it didn't stand
Mm,
because I kind of like, I gave the details, because I think you also need to fight with facts, right?
mm,
It's not
mm.
emotional. Yeah, I may look emotional when I talk, but obviously you need to be backed up with facts. So if you have facts to prove certain things, then how can
Yeah.
they argue with you?
I mean, what did the community say to you, or did they respond to you?
I think in general,
Mm,
the the community kind of like, those who they are quite supportive
mm,
of what I've been doing. Even the younger generation, right? Like, they still ask me, like, oh, can I talk to you about this, or they want to interview me for their school project or whatever, which is, I think, is, and I try to oblige, because I think it's very important that this other part of, but obviously the people at the Malay Heritage Foundation, they find me a pest. Like, oh my God, this girl, it's never ending. Why is she like raking out all this? And of course, like, Kassim, you told me it's a very tribal system, right?
yeah.
You're not in that tribe, they will not, they paint you in such a
Yes.
horrible light. I know they have painted me in such a horrible light that when people say, but Hidayah is not bad, what? She's
Yeah.
okay, she's just fighting for this, and like, but why are you painting her to be some like lunatic Malay girl that just want to argue for the sake of arguing? But that's not true. So you, of course, along the way, I have a lot of tips with the people who are in power, right? At the Malay Heritage Foundation and all that. There were a lot of like arguments. Somehow I felt that they want to cut down my mango tree to just take revenge. Okay, for those who do not know, there was a mango
Yeah.
tree in the house, and the mango tree was planted to commemorate my birth. Like I said, my parents waited a long time, and my mother had many, many miscarriages. So even mothers who want to give birth and you can't give birth, you know the struggle. You know, so when I was finally born healthy, so they were overjoyed and they planted this mango seed to commemorate
Okay.
birth, and it became into a tree. And if you want to know what happened, you can read the Mango Tree book. Another book. That book after I did Gedung Kuning, right? I don't want to write any other book. Really, I was away in England. I wanted to go the academic route and all that. I think Kasing, you know this. I was totally happy with moving on my life because I have done Gedung Kuning book. But when I came back to Singapore, they cut down my mango tree, which I thought was an act of rebellion against me. And then I was angry, right? So it kind of sparked off Helang Books actually. So the mango tree was the restart of all the other books to come.
The mango
If they did
tree.
not, yeah, the mango tree.
That published 2013, right? A few years later.
Yeah, a few years later.
Okay. So
Again,
what do you mean? They cut down one tree in the area, and you got to know
no,
about
because
it?
okay, you see, in the mango tree was in the compound of Gedung Kuning.
Yeah.
It was in the compound, right? If you know Singapore, it is actually illegal for you to cut down any trees. In fact, if you go and pluck fruits from any tree, also you get charged. Singapore is like what, Garden City, clean and green. And I appreciated the fact that, we are very into nature and planting trees, the tree planting campaign, which is absolutely good and well.
Yeah.
But the thing is, because of my history with the people who managed the Gedung Kuning and all that, right? So when I came back to Singapore, I found out they cut down the tree. And the worst thing about it is not that I'm being very petty. You all know the history of this tree. Everybody knows that it was in a book. You're all aware. They cut the tree first and then they informed me. So I had no recourse. If they had told me, I could have just transported the tree elsewhere. And I was about to do that. I actually wrote to NParks to ask whether I could transplant the tree to the botanical garden. Is there any way? Blah, 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 for a while. Then I found out, they really cut down the tree. So to me, right, like you took my house, you took my tree. Can just chop down any tree. In Singapore, if you chop down any tree, it's illegal. This one, okay, yes, it is on a private compound, but it now belongs to the government. So to them, it's like we own everything.
What
But to
was
me,
the reason that they gave, for cutting it down?
they say that, they gave me a long arborist report, right? They want to argue with facts. So I look at it, they say, number one, the arborist found the tree is overall healthy. That is the first point. Okay, why do you cut it then? They say that the trees root girdle. Girdling. They girdle because to provide stability for the tree.
Yeah.
Correct? To prevent it from falling. This is just logic. And then they say, the tree will destroy the building. And then
Okay.
look at there's a lot of trees around our buildings. Then don't plant trees lah if you think that this small tree will destroy the building. And then, of course, the last report was that eventually, in the end, the tree will die or something. Like, all of us will die. What? You don't come up with this lame ass report to just justify. So to me, it's not about they cut down the tree. You want to remove it. You want to make space for your tables and chairs. Fine. You tell me, I will remove it.
Yeah.
It's to me that's it. But this is very draconian, isn't it? Very like authoritative, like, okay, cut down first and tell her. By the time I have no recourse. So I felt that okay, I know it's not revenge. I just felt that they just want to cut my ties with the house. Okay, I took the house, but there's still one tree here, and the tree was healthy, it bears fruit. So how sickly can the tree be if you still bear fruits? So whatever their reasoning are just nonsense. This is what I see. So to me, is the act of this draconian, this upper hand,
Mm.
authoritative, which it did not sit well with me and with a lot of people, I think. Instead of being sympathetic to, okay, I already lost the house, right?
Yeah.
Now you want to take away this tree that holds memories of my family? It's just to really cut down. I mean, so because of that, I I was I was actually quite depressed. I couldn't stop crying for 3 weeks. I should have gone and see a psychiatrist or something.
Mm.
And I was crying. That's what my cousin said. What do you want them to do, Hidayah? Do you want them to apologize to you? You know what? Because they will never apologize to you. What is it that you want? Oh, and I was crying, crying, crying. And then I thought, you know what? Damn it, I'm gonna write a book.
Mm.
So you see, had they not cut down this tree, right, I will be contented with only Gedung Kuning. I won't even bother, restarting Helang Books. So I thought, okay, fine. I will write a book. I will write the story of the mango tree. It's a children's book, by the way, and it became the best children's book
Ah.
in
Okay.
2015. I mean, it's not that I just wrote because I wanted to heal. That's why I wanted memories. Like, why
Mm.
do we write? Why do people write? It's just they want to preserve the memories, right? So then I have friends who, after that, they email me, congratulations on your revenge book. People see it as a
Revenge book.
revenge book. I mean, a lot of people say, oh, Hidayah is taking revenge by
Yeah.
writing this book. So because of this incident, right, it kind of like actually pushed me forward
Mm.
to to restart Helang Books. Like, as you know, Helang Books is my publication arm. I set up Helang Books because when I did Gedung Kuning, so Dr. Kevin Tan said, Hidayah, you cannot say published by Singapore Heritage Society and Hidayah Amin. Doesn't look good. Why
Mm.
don't you come out with your imprint? So I said, what? Insignia? What? So I remember the two eagles outside the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, these two eagles, when I was growing up, I was an imaginative child, right? So I always talk to these two stone eagles. They are like my childhood friend. So I said, okay, lah, I will do Helang Books. Helang means eagle in Malay. So that
Mm.
was how Helang Books came about. So we just said, okay, the Gedung Kuning book was published by SHS and Helang Books. That's it. That's my insignia. And then because of this mango tree saga, so I said, okay, it's time that Halambo should make a comeback. So, and because of the mango tree book, it's all the other books came
Mm.
in a way, maybe if you look at it with positivism,
Yeah.
yes, the cutting of the tree makes me restart Helang Books and make me write all the other books. So
Mm.
you could say it has a positive effect. Instead of, I mean, I took something negative and into something positive. So yeah, in a way, I won't say I'm glad they cut down my tree, but
No, of course.
if
Yeah.
they had not cut down my tree, I'll be contented.
No,
with,
I
with,
was thinking actually that good things do come out of terrible things. Right?
yes, yeah.
Did Malay Heritage Center ever respond to your book, the Mango Tree book?
Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah,
I
you
gave
never
it
have.
to them,
Do
nothing.
Do you ever work with them since, like on some
Uh,
community project, Kampong Glam projects?
Nothing, that's the thing which,
Ah.
okay,
Mm.
I know I launched my Kampong Glam book at the Malay Heritage Center auditorium. Some
Yeah.
of the projects that I do, like some of the talks that it was is part of, like, it is very self-initiated. You know what I mean? Because yeah, I got the NHB grant. Now you're under NHB, So, I needed a venue sponsor. That's it.
Mm.
But it's quite funny that they never invited me on their
Mm.
own accord to come and give talks
Uh,
or to work with them. Why? Why not? I'm not petty. I'm
yeah.
like, to me, right? I may not like you personally, but I will be professional. If I know that we can work together and collaborate, I will still put aside my prejudices and work with you. But they never did. They never did. A lot of like the book launches that I had, like Kampung Tempe and Kampong Glam book launches, and then the Bahasa book, we actually did like a talk as part of some event, but that was because of the Banjari Society. It is all self-initiated, but on their own, they never approached me to come and, oh, do you want to do something together? Can we? Nothing. It's just like I'm blacklisted, right? But I mean, I don't care. Like, too bad lah, it's your loss. You don't want to work with me, so you will. Well, it's okay.
Maybe the podcast will change their minds a bit. You think?
I invited them to the Haji
Ah,
Yusoff Memorial Museum open house. Yeah.
okay, right. So I want to ask you, like on a Kampong Glam level, right? What is your thinking about the conservation of the area and what it is today?
I think it could have been dealt better. I think one thing about Singapore, right?
Yeah.
Look, I love Singapore, okay? I mean, really,
Mm.
I mean, if I don't like Singapore, I would have left long time ago. But this is our homeland. I have nothing. In fact, the Malays, you have this peribahasa or proverb that says that tanah tumpah darah, blood that you shed at birth.
Mm.
Okay, tanah is like your soil, right? So where I'm born, like I was born in Singapore, so blood was shed in Singapore, so Singapore is like our homeland. So there's the sense of loyalty, you know. That's why I don't quite agree when people say, oh, in case of war, Malays will go and fight with Malaysia. Hey, hello, Singapore is our tanah tumpah darah. We'll fight for Singapore. So as much as, of course, we criticize Singapore for maybe certain policies or what, but we still love Singapore, right? I think a lot of people love our homeland. So one thing about Singapore, it is very efficient, yes, but I feel that they never think through a lot of things before they want to do it now. Like I want to rejuvenate Kampong Glam. I want to see it done in 5-10 years. There's a KPI we have to follow. So unfortunately, this efficiency or too much efficiency that you forgot certain aspect. Like, did you gather like feedback from the former residents of Kampong Glam? What is ethic? Do you actually think of, which I also mentioned in my Kampong Glam book, you want to rejuvenate the Busra Street area, okay? Then URA open tender, to get people to go and buy, right, the property. Unfortunately, why didn't you actually open the tender or give special concession to the former residents? Ask them if they wanted to even buy. Then it's more authentic, isn't it? You have a stake. So now the owners of the people in Kampong Glam are not the original resident. You can give concession, right? You are a government after all. I mean, whatever you do, I mean, goes. Okay, so then you talk about gentrification. You don't, because of this thing, you open market, oh, it's a capitalist system, or those with the highest bidder come in. But those with the highest bidder, when they come in, of course they want to profit, and then they will sell it to other people. The real estate in Kampung Glam is the highest, and you drive out all these original tenants, like maybe the nasi padang. Even Sabah Menanti has moved out to next to our museum building along North Bridge Road. Sabah Menanti was right in the smack of Kampung Glam. Because they couldn't, because they suddenly the landlord increased the rental. And then you don't, because you want things fast, efficient, you don't consult. Only lately URA do a lot of consultative like feedback session with a former resident. This is only a few years ago. But when we are talking about in the 1990s, when they started building, it's just that to have it fast and go. To do it. You don't care how it is. Like, oh, you want to take Kampong Gedung Kuning? What is the hurry? Give them 4 months, they need to leave. So if you look, right, okay, another irony, right? I realized the day we left so-called the family left Gedung Kuning
What, it's your
was
birthday again?
on, yeah, coincidence, September 11,
Uh-huh.
1999. Irony, right? Like all the
Yeah, you're very
disaster.
mindful of dates.
I mean, historians are mindful of dates. Anyway, I just noticed it when I did the exhibits on for the museum.
Mm,
When it's on big prints, right? Then I realized, he bought it on my birthday. I
mm,
mean, on the date, or not on my birthday, like it's so coincident. September 11. That means it's a disaster for our family. September 11 also disaster for the world, right? So, okay, back to this issue.
yeah.
They don't, they, at the cost of efficiency, you
Mm,
are so eager to fulfill your KPI within a certain amount of time. You don't allow for discussion. You don't allow for in-depth study. Why do you think, last time in Kampong Glam, even the Chinese kopitiam, right? They
yeah.
don't serve beer out of
Uh-huh.
respect because there's a mosque there. There are a lot of Muslims there.
Well, that's very
And
ironic today, right? I mean, Kampong Glam
yes,
area is filled with drinking areas. Yeah.
yes,
Mm,
drinking. Not only, yes, if you want, okay, we cannot stop market forces,
yeah.
but the bar, the tattoo parlor is only like 100 meters away from the mosque.
Mm, mm, mm,
And there was also a newspaper article one time, there was a brawl in some of the massage parlor. And this woman came out running half naked at 3 a.m. in the morning, like
mm.
just in front of the mosque. Like, are you kidding me? Did you do that? Why do you have massage parlor in front of St. Andrew's Cathedral then? Why? Why? Cannot. You can sanction, right? You see, so to me, there is no respect. And then they say, oh, it is they are trying to curb the F&B, all that. But you see, if you are a landlord, because a lot of them are like private property, right? Landlord, I want to make money. Kampong Glam is very hot. I just sell or just increase the rent. So they drive up, a lot of the traditional businesses.
Mm, mm.
So, which I think is not fair. And then what do you have? You have a slew of Middle Eastern food. Okay, one thing maybe I'll just clarify about the naming of Kampong Glam. And maybe Kasing, as a historian, you can correct me. I mean, if I'm wrong,
Go ahead.
because we
Yeah.
all also sometimes make mistakes. But the naming of Kampong Glam, right? If you look at the names, it's all Middle Eastern name, Middle Eastern countries. Baghdad Street, Kandahar Street,
Mm,
Muscat Street, okay, Arab Street.
yeah.
Uh, why? The Arabs who came to Singapore are from Yemen, from Hadramaut, most of them. There's nobody from Muscat, nobody from Kandahar.
Ah,
Maybe there's
all right.
one family, my mother said, but they are Jewish family. But as in like Baghdad, people from Baghdad came to Singapore. So you see, then I suspected during the colonial times, British colonial times, there's a lot, of course, Malays, we are Muslim, right? And that area is a Malay quarter. And we are Muslims, there's a mosque there. So to them, Muslim Islam equals Middle East.
Mm.
So when you name the roads, okay, I just use Middle Eastern cities. How else do you justify? You use Baghdad Street. Nobody from Baghdad comes.
Wouldn't these names be given during the colonial period, right? Most of these
Yeah,
street
during the
names.
colonial period, yes.
Yeah.
So during the British colonial period, like to them, anything Islam is Middle East. That is what I feel. Even the mosque structure now is not mosque of the Nusantara or the Malay archipelago architecture. It's very Middle Eastern. Okay, so that was already the stereotype, right? Islam equals Middle Eastern.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to this so-called the gentrification or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So you have, obviously you don't take into consideration the historical significance of this area. And the fact that Haji Lane, why is it called Haji Lane? Because people who wants to go on the Hajj, they stayed there. That's why they call it Haji Lane, because there's a lot of would-be pilgrims. So now you have what? You have rave party, you have bars along Haji Lane. And then people will say that, oh, you are Hidayah, you cannot be stuck with the times, it's just market forces. But don't you think that initially the government could have controlled this? So I felt then they were in a rush to develop. Sometimes there's nothing wrong with developing, but don't you, maybe you could have learned from Chinatown mistake, right?
Yeah.
You see, you look at Little India. When you go to
Yes.
Little
Yeah.
India, it's still, the flavor is still preserved. But you look at Kampong Glam, where can I find authentic Malay food then? Only smattering. Then if I'm a tourist, oh, so Arab.
There
Oh,
there are still a very few heritage businesses, right, in the area, like along North Bridge Road. The food
yeah, but let me
businesses.
tell you, yeah, yes, along Norwich Road, what is that? The Islamic, no, sorry, Zamzam Victory. They've been there for the longest time, and you know why they were able to stay there? Because their rent do not increase so high, because those properties were wakaf properties, where whatever rental money goes to the mosque. So naturally, they wouldn't increase it as per market forces. So things like this. But if you look at, if you don't if you don't, like, your business, you don't own the shop, or you are just, it's rental, right? A lot of these businesses that has been existing for maybe more than 30-40 years, they're not able to catch up. They're not able to compete. That is the sad part. Not everybody can own the property, right? So now real estate is so high, it's ridiculous. And the only profitable so-called businesses are what? Bars, pubs, massage parlor, tattoo. So there's little regard of the sanctity of the mosque. That there's a mosque there, and you have beers being sold 1,800 meters away. I mean, come on. So I feel
Yeah.
you deem it a historic quarter. Don't you think it's the same thing as the Ramadan Bazaar? Ramadan Bazaar, as I saw it when I was growing up in Kampong Glam, is so much different from the Ramadan Bazaar of today. The Ramadan Bazaar today is a glorified pasar malam. There is no traditional food, or maybe one or two stalls. The rest are all this hipster fusion food that you can get anywhere. I mean, for heaven's sake, you have 12 months, right? If you want to make money, 11 months, you can make money selling your hipster food anywhere. But when it comes to the Ramadan Bazaar, you lost the essence. In the past, Ramadan Bazaar in Kampong Glam, where you have it along the Busra Street, right? Where the people who live the people who live in the house, the family will actually sell food. Right in front of the house, they have the tables, right? So they will sell their own family specialty. Let's say my family, we are very good in making mee siam, example. So our specialty is mee siam. Then we can sell other traditional food and all that. So, and the Ramadan, and all the food will be sold out, like maybe maybe half an hour before or you break fast. It is that good. And then you can the essence is there. You are basically there. Yes, you make money by selling, but it's not so much of making money by selling. It is to share your food with other people. So I think the atmosphere is very different. But here Western or hipster or fusion food that is not even linked to Ramadan. Then why use Ramadan Bazaar then? So that's what I mean. We are so too commercial. We want the highest profit in the shortest time, at the disregard of preserving history or heritage. So That is what I see. Now maybe URA still have, they of late they have consultative sessions. I attended a few with the former residents, with the resident to get feedback and all that, which is good. And I think even that also, I kept bringing this out about the one of the issue, the Ramadan Bazaar
Mm.
thingy. I said, look, you are in charge, right? Yes, because of electricity, water, all that, yeah, increase in rental, whatever for the infrastructure, but you can fork up the bill, isn't it? You don't make the rental so high. You can just say that we want 70% traditional Ramadan or whatever fanfare or food, but 30% can be your others. Last time, Ramadan Bazaar got no kebab, okay? Now you have kebab. You can have kebab anywhere, every day of the month. Why must you do it? So I just feel, at least you call it a historic quarter. Don't you think you need to invest more
Mm.
in actually thinking through certain things and not implementing policies that is just, I want it fast, I want it by this.
So
So enhance the new.
when you talk about the like getting some of the residents and maybe some of the businesses back, right? You are talking about small businesses, stalls, or
Yes.
small restaurants. Mm.
Okay, some
Mm.
of those who the former resident, I mean, they downstairs they have their own, I mean, it's a shop, right? They have their own small businesses.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so when they were not say evicted out, right? When the URA wanted to develop and then open tender and all that, don't you think they say open tender, anybody can come?
Mm.
Why don't you go and offer to the original residents at maybe a cheaper rate,
Mm.
so that you can still infuse some traditional business there and help them? But I think Singapore, yes, you want to be meritocracy. Oh, you must be fair, must open tender. But come on, historic quarter, you can manipulate. Not say manipulate, I wouldn't call it, but you can give concessions. And then you will not have this problem of gentrification.
Do you know what's happened to the old businesses? I mean, in the beginning, you were mentioning some of these, right? Hawkers and other shops in Kampong Glam. Are they still around today, you think?
Most of them, when they move out, the business like died, or maybe they
Yeah,
move to Geylang,
yeah.
whatever. It's just no more already, lah.
Mm.
They just, I mean, lately, somebody who used to sell the most wonderful Me My Day and all that started doing it online, which is good. So that's why even during our like Kampong Glam book launch, we actually cater from this family, the whole Me My Day. And then so now what they do is when the Sultan malls have the bazaar, they will actually sell their own food there.
Mm.
But as in, they don't have a physical space, or they don't, so with time, all these traditional recipes and food will die. And
Yeah.
what do we have here now? Nothing.
All right. I managed to find the list of heritage businesses, the official heritage businesses here in Kampong Glam. There are 7. The first one is actually Chinese. This is a haberdashery,
Mm.
Sin Hin Chuan Ki along North Bridge Road. Then there is Sabah Menanti Nasi Padang.
Yeah, but Sabah Menanti,
Ah,
actually, they were forced to move out from because of rental.
ah,
Now URA helped them to relocate uh at where they are now, which is on North Beach Road,
North Bridge Road,
and
right?
the
Yeah.
property is Waka property also, so the rental is not
Ah,
so exorbitant. And
okay.
URA, yes, is trying to, only lately, okay, trying to, because they know the market prices are too
Yeah,
much, so they
yeah,
help these people. But it's 7 out of so many. It's 7 is
yeah, yeah.
nothing,
It's completely
negligible.
small.
It's
Next to
very small, it's minuscule.
let me go on. Next to it is Warong Nasi Peraman.
Pariaman.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Pariaman. Yeah, and then also along, I think mostly along the road, VSS Muhammad and Sons. This is
Mm.
a provision shop, is it? And then the Jama
Kazura.
Kazura Aromatics, right?
Yeah.
And then the
Jama
vice.
Kazura, they own the property.
Right. How?
So
So
you know,
most of the businesses don't own the property, lah. They are renting, lah, right?
yes,
Okay,
that is
that's a
the
huge problem. Mm.
like yeah, that is a huge problem. But maybe this was long time back, right? I mean, who are
Yeah,
we to
they bought a long
ask
time ago.
people why you never buy? We
Yeah.
do not know everybody's financial situation. But then again, the power at B or the government could help. What I'm saying is from the beginning, even to
Mm.
take about our home.
Yeah.
Why are you in such a rush to kick us out within 4 months? Like
Mm.
why? And then the Malay Heritage Center, you never think through, you know. Obviously, the Malay Heritage Foundation failed the first time they administered it until now NHB have to take over. Don't you think you should think through? And then now, how many revamps have you gone through? 2? If you have thought through properly from the beginning, you don't have to do so many changes along the line, isn't it? Yes, I know things change, things evolve. You need to, but when you do like policies, when you have policies in place, you need to spend more time and actually think, especially when it deals with people. You cannot
Mm.
just displace people like that.
Mm.
That is why, Jen, and you focus so much on the commercialization aspect. That will lead to gentrification, and then you argue. Then if people like myself go and make a lot of noise,
Mm.
you say, oh, cannot, I don't evolve with the time. I'm still like so sore because they took my house. That is not the reason. The very simple fact that when you go there, you don't see like only seven measly,
Yeah.
so-called, and most of them is like food. How about the bookstores? Now, of course, Wardah, because Wardah started by my friend, and they've been there for at least about 20 years. But
Mm.
even that, once Ibrahim was telling me, hey, Hidayah, if the landlord increase the rental, that's it, we have to leave. But it's now a fiction in Kampong Glam. What more? They don't have any other bookstores in Kampong Glam, and Kampong Glam was also the publishing hub. Then what? You're really pushing away history.